Good afternoon folks, day 70, and today we're going to have a look at the evolution of my dissolve, which started off this morning. Yes, I've been at it this morning, grabbing myself a coffee, getting a drink, waiting on people joining in hopefully before we start. But we were having a look at our dissolve. Now, this is the original dissolve over here. Okay. It has a couple of parameters in it: emissive amount, dissolve amount, and the fringe amount. Okay, so basically we worked off an instance of that and we set up dissolve amount 0, emissive amount 1, fringe 2. Okay, now I'm going to have to let you see an older project and how this worked. Okay, this is the previous version. Now, you can see here that it kicked off by creating dynamic materials, 5 of them, and that was because the most elements, or the highest number of materials on any of the monsters in this particular project was 5. Okay, so we basically created a dynamic material with the instance dissolve on it. Okay, which then started a timeline where we updated the dissolve value and the fringe value. Okay, and then when it was finished, we basically destroyed the actor. Okay, as I said, this was the initial one and it worked, but you'll see here that it was hard coded, right, for these number of materials. So what I thought at this point was, I can do this better, because this was done about 3 years ago and my knowledge of Unreal Engine has increased in that time. So our next version of it, if I just close that project down because we don't need to look at that anymore, the next version of that became this. Okay, so what we did was we created a set of dynamic materials in an array. Okay, then we get all the materials, so it doesn't matter how many materials, right? So not 0 to 5 or 0 to whatever, we actually get the number of materials. We create the dynamic material instance for that element index, and then we store it in the array. Once it's done that, we then do our timeline with our amount and fringe, and then we loop through each of these and update the values. Okay, this then evolves again into this, where we don't use a timeline at all. Okay, so now suddenly our coding looks like that. And we don't actually use this at all. Right, so from the original one that you saw has now become just this. And the difference now is that our timeline has now got 2 time nodes on it. We divide it by the amount of time it takes. We have our fringe value on a time node as well. This one divides by 15, which is the value that we were using in our timeline. You'll notice that we have disconnected our dissolve amount and fringe. Okay, so we never need to update that. We create our instance of it so that we can change the color. But the thing about this is we could actually change the color before we actually do anything. Right? And what we get if we apply that is this cube. I've applied this instance to the cube. Okay, so you can see it. We don't need a timeline. The timeline has been removed. Now, the reason for doing this is that under normal circumstances, I believe, now don't quote me on this. Hi Rudy, how you doing? The reason for doing this is if we do it in a timeline, then we're putting load on the CPU. If we do it as a node in a material, as far as I believe, somebody might want to update me on this one if it's not the case, but this gets offloaded to the GPU because materials are calculated on the GPU. So we are freeing up CPU time and passing it over to the GPU. Okay? So, in theory, this should be more efficient if we're just doing this simple dissolve. Okay? Now, the last thing we've got to do, and I'll show you this in action on our actual dude, we've actually applied it to him. Okay, so let's have a look at that, shall we? You'll see, hi Shinra 4, you'll see that he will dissolve. Okay? But, obviously, we don't want it to actually do it there. So, what we're actually going to do is we're going to go and get our animation. How are Rudy and Shinra 4? How are you guys doing today? So, on the zombie, we have basically a call to dissolve, and the call to dissolve is on the base monster, so I can call this on any monster and it'll do our dissolve, right? But the interesting way that we're going to actually do this is we're going to go to our animation blueprint for this monster, right? Now, if I remember correctly, hi Schneider. Rudy, the locomotion for what? For the character, the monster, or what? Right, because they've all got different locomotion systems. At the moment, we have to look at these two for the death. So I'll let you answer that question, Rudy, of what locomotion system you're talking about, and how do I keep motivated? Quite easily. Number one, talking to you guys. So I'm normally working on things, right? Give me a second then, Rudy, okay? I'm going to set up the animation notifies on this, and then I'll talk you through how it works. Okay, so we have to do animate. Yeah, I'll set. How do you keep motivated? Right, talking to you guys is one thing. Doing the streams and doing it every day means that I've got to work on it every day, so the game progresses no matter what, because I'm always working on it on a stream. Even if I make no progress, I kind of still make progress because I know what doesn't work if something hasn't worked. And yeah, and making a game. So what we've got to do is we've got to open up this. Right, so let's have a look at this. This won't take me long, Rudy. Right, so Phantom. Right, what we're going to do here is we're going to add a notify. Okay, new notify, and we're going to call it dissolve. Okay, then I've got to do, I believe, this one. Right, as I said, this won't take me long, and then we'll have a look at the, right, so once he's basically stopped, there we go, right, what's amazing, Snyder? I'm not sure what we're going to do. Dissolve. Okay. Oh yeah, I was going to answer that question. Phantom Atom 96. For a 3D chess game, would you use Unity or Unreal Engine? Use whatever you're comfortable with, right? I answer this question a lot, right? Use whatever you're comfortable with. There's nothing wrong with Unity, there's nothing wrong with Unreal Engine, there's nothing wrong with Godot. Whatever you're confident in, then use that. That's the best policy, right? All of them have their pluses and minuses. For likes of Unreal Engine, one of the big pluses of that is the graphics look good out of the box. Right, you can make anything look pretty good pretty easily in Unreal Engine. Unity, you need to work at it a bit. If you like using the visual scripting, obviously your best bet is Unreal Engine. If you like using C#, obviously your best bet is Unity, but it's really whatever you're comfortable with, so up to you really. As I said, there's no correct answer for that. Okay, so character movement. So I'm going to add these animation notifies in a minute or two once we've had a little look through our pawn. Okay, pawn. Right. So I'm guessing here that you know about this stuff, right? This is your standard kind of controller stuff that adds movement input, right? The only difference with mine is it actually does update a compass as well, right? So if you turn, it basically updates a compass material, right? So, you know, as I said, this is your basic stuff, right? But the thing is that obviously this then controls the animation blueprint, right? Which is here. Okay. Now, basic animation or base locomotion is this, right? So this is your standard blend, okay? These are controlled by the player state, right? So if you've got a bow, you know, blah blah, right? If you're climbing, like if you start climbing a ladder, it enters here, right? And then basically you've got to exit either at the bottom or the top, so it basically goes to there, and then that takes you back to the original blend. Okay, the original blend is a blend space. Okay, the difference being here that when you go into the bow has got its own state machine, right, with an idle lock, and this is with the bow in your hand, right, which is different from having normal. Now the difference here is it also switches camera, okay? Now we have got to do the aim offsets on this, but in the end what you get is this. Right? So if she's not got a bow in her hand, right, you get that. So she shall walk about or run or whatever, but if we go into aiming mode, which is with the bow, you'll notice we go into sort of third person over the shoulder view, and it's like a fixed camera. You see? So if we come out of there, we switch camera back, and we've got our normal walk, etc. Okay? Right, so does that explain it enough for you? The character movement? Or do you need to see more, or have you got another question? There's a lot of stuff going on in there, right? There's a lot of blending the animations and stuff, right? But obviously it would probably take me the 2 hours to go over some of that just for the animation part. As I said, there's a lot of animation blending going on. Which I can demonstrate for you if we do this, right? If you see, we walk into the wind, she puts her hand up, right? It doesn't need to be your last question, Rudy. I enjoy answering questions, if I can. Right, so you can see her putting her hand up, right? If we walk the other way, she'll put her hand down because the wind is not in her face, right? Now, I can switch that off and on, right? That switches up, that little cube there switches it on, but you'll notice here, it switches it off, right? So she no longer does that. So basically, if she goes inside the house, then it can be switched off, right? But then I can switch it back on again. So you'll notice if I walk through this, her hand immediately comes up, right? Now that is all controlled by the animation blueprint, okay? And if we go all the way back, this is it here. Well, actually, that's not it. Well, it kinda is, but one of the main thing is, this is her head rotation with the camera, right? So she moves a certain amount of her head the way the camera's facing, and this is the part that raises her hand, okay? Now, I've had to do it as indoors, as wind, blah blah, and then blend the poses. And then obviously, if you're climbing or anything like that, then we blend again. And basically we're deciding if we blend certain parts of the pose, like the hand going up, or her head spinning, or whatever, depending on what we're doing at the time. So if we're aiming or anything, we don't move the head or anything, right? If we're climbing, we don't do anything, right? Additional to the base animation, okay? As I said, this just calculates the rotation of her head and applies it, and we've got some right hand stuff, and then this calculates whether she puts her hand up, okay? Don't ask me how some of this works, I didn't write it, but I've got enough general understanding of it to have added certain things to it and taken them away. Right? As I said, if I was you and you've got the time, then spend a couple of weeks with Unity, spend a couple of weeks with Unreal Engine, spend a couple of weeks with whatever engine you can think of, and use the one that you're comfortable using. Right? As I said, there's no right answer for that. Okay? So, to go back to our original point, we were updating our zombie, remember? So, if we go into our event graph, right, what we can do is we can type in notify, and you'll notice we've got an event here now called dissolve, okay? Now, we've already got our pawn. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but what we can do here is get the pawn we can actually cast it to... we can't cast it. That's a bit of a bummer. Well, yeah, it's going to have it. Right. What we can do is say... dissolve. Okay. So we can save that and we can test it. I'm going to get rid of our cube. Right, that was just for display purposes. So if we press play, oops, we need to go to our monster, and we basically don't need this anymore. This was for testing as well, so it was after 3 seconds it would dissolve, but we don't need that. So we can shoot. So we've hit it, goes on fire, falls down, dissolves. HTML isn't coding. Okay. So as you've seen there, we dissolved them out. Okay, but if you want to do it, there's Unreal Engine obviously comes standard with blueprints, so there is an add-on for Unity which is called Playmaker, which I've done a couple of videos on, which is a similar type of idea, but it's nowhere near as integrated, right? Obviously because it's an add-on. Right, so anyway, there you see we have our dissolve working. Right, now probably we want this to take less time, right? So with that in mind, right, we need to know. You too, Phantom. Good luck with your... As I said, just try a couple of the engines and see how you feel about it. But best of luck. And you're welcome to come back and ask any questions anytime. So we're going to have a look at our parasite zombie again, right? And we're going to check our 2 death animations, which we've probably got open, by the way. Right? Now, do we know this is 2.77 seconds, right? So it appears that these are 3 seconds each, right? Maybe they're longer than that. Okay, well, whatever. Right, if we go in here, there's death. 3.33. Oh, that one's shorter. Not to worry. So we know that that takes 3 seconds. Right, so let's go back here and check out how we actually kill the monster. We set is dead, right? Well, wait a minute. In here, we're activating fire. Right. So basically, it's going to take 10 seconds for him to die. Okay? So what we really want to do is pull this down to, let's say, 7. Right? And this is the one where he dies. Right? But he should really die after about 3.5. Okay. So at this point he dies. At this point we're finishing our thing. So probably we should pull this down even further to like 5. Right, and we should try that. Right, because basically we want the particles to be on a quicker cycle so that we get to see the dissolve, right? That's the idea here. Right. So it does need to be a bit longer, to be fair. that at 5. Right, we want to see how this reacts. Yep, yep. We like that. Did you guys like that? Let's do it again. I think what we need is a slightly different colour. And I think we don't need to actually kill the player. We can basically let our anim notify kill it. Right? So the point being that if we went to the parasite AI, right, this destroy self doesn't need to actually do anything. We'll have a look at it to see if it does anything weird. No, we just call destroy self, right? So basically all we need to do in the parasite is, or sorry, in the base monster, okay, is basically delay for 3 seconds and then destroy self. Right. Oh, and destroy self isn't there. So what we'll do is we shall destroy actor. Destroy actor self. Okay. Cool. So press play. Right. I think we need it a bit more orangey. A bit more red. I'm just wondering what that other colour is, right, on those particles. I might have to do a check on the fire particles. Okay. So if I like drag, what happened there? Right. So if we look at this, right, we click on that, we click on our little thingy-me-bob, that's much yellower. Right, we'll do our picky thing again, and if we go with that, okay. Right. Yeah, kind of okay. Kind of okay. Right. I'm going to close all these down because there's so many of them open. Save all. And we'll see how we're doing. I think I need to actually activate our dissolve a bit faster as well. Right, so what we could actually do is activate our dissolve from within our timeline. Right, so we could actually call it here. Okay, we could try calling it here to see if it works better, and then we could basically switch it off on our animation blueprint just as a little test. Yep, we're liking that. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is go for a cigarette. So if you're enjoying the stream, hit like and subscribe, helps a lot, makes me a happy bunny. Check out the descriptions for links to the game's Discord, my private Discord, also my Patreon and my previous game on Steam. I shall be back in a few minutes, guys. Don't go anywhere. Alrighty, we are back. Now, the question is, do we like this or not? Is the question. Is there something we can do here to make this better? Or is it actually looking good? I would say that's looking pretty good. Let's have a closer look at it. Okay, so what I'm thinking here is that this timeline should be running longer. Or wait a minute. We don't actually want this here. Right. We want it kinda here. Right, but what I'm thinking here is that this triggers the death anim, right? And we know that death anim takes 3.5 seconds. Okay, so whatever happens in this should actually be three and a half. Right? But we should actually do another event track. Right? We should say trigger dissolve. Okay. And probably we should add this at the 6-second mark. Okay. and see how that goes. As I said, a lot of these effects and stuff just take a good bit of tweaking to get how you like it. And I'm still not 100% sure on this one. Yeah, there's something not right here. There's something getting triggered here where it actually kills him. Okay, there's something not quite right. Tidy this bit up anyway. Right, but there's something not quite right here. And I'm kind of wondering if in the short term we go back to the timeline on this one, or sorry, on it's on the base monster. Right, wait a minute. Right, considering this, right, now if we do it this way, it's still going to work. Oh, we don't want that. Right. So if we use this timeline and then say finished, right. Hi, Quit Abandoned, how you doing, bud? Right. So this timeline, I believe, is 3 seconds. Yeah. So we need it in here Yeah, we're doing well. Right, let's actually just have a look here, right? Right, in case you're wondering, quite abandoned. We're doing a dissolve on the monster here as to just seal the deal on some nice effects going on. So we shoot him, we get a blood spurt, he starts on fire, falls down, and for some reason he's disappearing. Right? Don't ask me why. This is weird. Right? And this should be doing nothing really. Right, so if we go into our AI, right, we basically don't do anything. Yeah, it makes it disappear, but it gradually makes it disappear. The problem is, it's disappearing before it starts dissolving. So there's a bit of code that's doing something, right, that isn't right. There's a bit of code that's making the thing immediately disappear. If you watch, right, and we get up close to him, right, we fire, right, now he goes on fire, then he falls over, and he disappears, and then the fade happens. Okay? It's as if we're removing him twice. Okay, what I'm think is we do that and we remove this to see if that makes a difference. Okay. You see that kind of did that twice? I'll tell you what I'm going to do, just in case there's some kind of weird thing going on here. I'm going to stick a do once on this. Right, in case there's something getting fired twice. There we go. Oh, look at that, I did it again. Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is. I'm an idiot. Okay, I'm an idiot. I believe you. It's because we're still using the no timeline. We need to use this one. Right. It was nothing to do with any of that. Right. We can probably put this back, but we'll have a look to see what we've got. And we can probably eliminate this. Right. Now we know that this is going to take 3 seconds. Now this is probably going to be a funny colour. Right. We don't want it to happen after. What we want is basically what we had. We want like this trigger dissolve there. Right. And we probably need there. That looks good. That looks good. Does one agree that that looks good? Do we want to see that again? Right, so we probably want to change this slightly. We probably want this to go on a little bit longer. right? We probably want this to be 9 seconds. And we probably want that to be 9. Right? Because we want the flames to run out at the same time as we dissolve, our final dissolve is done. Right? Right, so we shoot him. He falls down, then he starts dissolving. He's dissolved. Right. We actually want this to be 5. Right? I'll show you why in a minute. But basically, after we do our dissolve, we don't do this. Right? This can now actually be done by well, you know what? I'm tempted. Let's put that back in. Right, but basically we don't have any delay on it, right? So once the dissolve finishes, we're done. Right? No, we don't want that. We do need a delay. Because we don't want that all disappearing right away. And what we actually need is a 4-second delay. Because we want our particles to die. We don't want them just to disappear, we want them to die, right? So if we put a 5-second delay on this, right? Cool. The interesting thing here is that fire, right, that we're doing is a problem. And I'll tell you why in a second. If we go to our parazombie, right, and we go to NS fire, right, what we want to do is we want to switch off this lava rocks thing, right? That's what's causing, see the things, the little blobs at the end, that was these lava rocks, which are pretty pointless anyway, right? So they're an effect that isn't really required for us, right? So if I don't do that, right, and I actually press play, yeah, and the thing about it now is we can now make it better by changing we've got our thing here, right, where we dissolve. Now we can dissolve later, okay? So if we go in again to here, right, we can dissolve at, let's say, 7. Save that, and there's not going to be as much of a weight. Right? And even then, we can probably push it even more. Right? Can push it probably to 8. Right? So, hit them. And there we go. Beautiful. So we like that. You'll notice here as well, we've got this character where we've actually stuck the particles in specific places. The fire isn't a very good example, right? But the point being that if you notice where the fire's coming from, right? And then we have a look at this dude. I'll explain it if you haven't been paying attention. Right? You'll notice if I switch this off, that these are the places where he's infected. Right? You'll notice when I switch this back on again. So I can target like affected areas with a, this might not be the best example, you know, the fire coming out there, but if it was some kind of other growth, we could actually do that. right? And that's kind of the point. So anyway, what will we work on next? We'll look at that one more time just because we think it's looking kinda awesome now. Or kind of a lot more awesome than it was. Even though it was kinda awesome, but it's awesomer. And there we go, pretty darn cool. Pretty darn cool indeed. Right. So the question has to be now, what do I work on next? Now, what I think I need to do is work on some crafting items. So we might have to do something with that. Right, but it's going to be pretty easy now to create our other monsters, right? Because all we really need to do is like copy the blueprints from other things. Now, I wonder what this is. Let's have a look at this light orb thing. Right, we like to have a look at these to see what they actually look like. And as I've said to you guys before, we might just have a look at it and then repurpose it. Waiting it compiling for a second. So we've got bubbles, buttons, chains. The chains one's interesting. Coins, crystals, diamonds, flowers, glass, glitter, light orbs, pixels, rocks, sticky notes, toilet paper, twigs. Right. The other thing we could have a look at is the puzzle systems from the assets that I've got. And see if there's something that we can do with that. Or we could at least have a look at them and see what some of them do. For example, how they deal with push and pulling of certain items. Alright, this apparently is right, okay, whatever. Let's drag it in. Right. And we'll see what it looks like. Okay. Get it to auto activate. Okay. Well, that's not looking like it's doing very much. Oh, there it is. Ah, right, it's got to be attached to a skeletal mesh. Right, so what we'll do is where is it? This one. Right, we'll delete that. And what we could do is attach it to our wolf as an example. Right. And light orbs. Right. And then we just say auto activate, cast shadow, compile, and let's see. Interestingly, right, cool. Hi Fung. How are you today? Right, so that is quite an interesting one. Right, probably not going to be any good for us, but anyway, what we'll do is, the one I'm interested in, right, and what we could actually maybe use is the rocks, right? And the reason I'm saying that is we could actually create a rock monster out of the mannequin or another character that we have. So let's see what this actually does to our wolf. Right, not an awful lot, to be honest. Well, that's not true. It does actually do quite a lot, but it's not really the effect we want. Right? So what we could do here, right, is let's go to our rocks. Okay. Let's duplicate it. And we'll call it in place. Right? Because our rocks are not going to fall off. Okay? We're going to switch off gravity. We're going to switch off collision. Right? And probably here, we don't need this generate death. But I'm just thinking here, this might be interesting, because this might give options on if a particle hits you, which it probably does. This probably does an event. And there's the dog upset because there's people outside shouting, which is always good. Right, so I'm guessing that this, when it hits the ground, now if I had the gravity left on and the collision left on, then it would generate this death event. And then we could basically attach it to another event. So like a fire damage or something like that, right? So yeah, but interesting nonetheless. So what we'll do is we'll go back to roll particle, right? And instead of that one, we'll do this one. Right, now what I'm hoping happens here is that you'll notice that none of these are falling off, right? It's basically just like an evolving thing. Right? So in effect, with this particle effect, you could create rock dogs, rock monsters, rock humans, rock anything. Right? And if we look at the spawn rate and we basically pump it up, okay, now we could remove these and add them as like we did before with the skeleton, either the bones or the sockets. Right, now what we could do so that we can get a better look at this is put it under the light. Right, so you can see there that we could have a rock monster. Right, now there's obviously a lot going on here, but if we got the skeleton and then just either set up our own sockets at an even spread, then we would get an even spread of this. We would get an even spread of the rocks across the whole monster, which would give us a much better idea. I mean, theoretically, we could just pump this up again to like 560. And then it's probably going to be enough to cover it. Not quite, but near enough. Okay. Now to keep that down, right, we could literally switch on the collision, right? So that if it collides, it kills the particle. right? So that basically the ones that are covering the feet aren't created, but we could do that with the socket as well, right? But you can see there that we could have a rock monster. I know it's pretty silly doing it on the wolf, but let's do something slightly different. So you can see there, you know, if we actually, depending on how cool we wanted it to be, and if we wanted to do this, we could go into this again, right, and scale mesh size, and do it like 1.2, right? So these are going to cover a bigger area. It's going to, probably going to not be very noticeable, but so if we actually, let's say we wanted to do this, but we did it with a mannequin, right? What's what? Quite abandoned. Right. Let's delete him for now. Let's create an actor. Actually, no. We'll create a character. We'll call it BP test char, right? And in our mesh, right, we can see mannequin, right? And then we can see that one. Alright, it's not really put them into a... Right, so we'll compile that. Now, I was expecting him to go like into an idle pose. Right, but if we now go back to our rocks and drag that into there, ta-da! We have a rock monster. Made out of particles. How cool is that? Okay. is he going to do? Is he going to go into... but you get the idea. Okay guys, I'm going to call it there for this afternoon. I'll be back at 8 PM Central tonight, which is in about 3 hours 20 minutes. So if you've enjoyed the stream, hit like and subscribe, I would appreciate it. Check out the description for links to my Discord, to the games Discord, Patreon, and my previous game on Steam. Thanks you guys for watching. Hope to see you again. Bye bye for now.